Visser, for joining me today. It's a real pleasure to have you here to speak with me about AI in lung cancer. So if we can just start with an introduction about yourself, your role and your background.
So my name is Visser. I'm a radiologist at the Erasmus Medical Center in Rotterdam, the Netherlands, and I'm also the Chief Medical Information Officer of this hospital.
So as you know, that lung cancer is a worldwide issue, and in Netherlands there are similar challenges. Can you talk to me about some of these challenges that you have?
So lung cancer is one of the deadliest cancers that's among us. So we really aim for the early detection as much as possible. We do not have a lung cancer screening program yet, but we are doing research to be able to identify the high-risk patients that may benefit the most from a lung cancer lung cancer screening program.
Okay, yeah. So what inspired you or motivated you to implement AI at Erasmus Hospital?
So the thing with AI, so the problem basically is that as a radiologist, there is an increasing workload. Looking for nodules, pulmonary nodules, takes a lot of time. That's one thing. And the other thing is that it turns out during research that AI improves the detection rate for radiologists with 5 to 50%, depends a little bit on the study that you're reading. Also, that just makes you faster. So you read faster as being a radiologist. So all in all, better detection, faster reporting, that's what we are aiming for with AI.
Yeah, that's brilliant to hear that from sort of a radiology perspective. Can you tell me about how the idea of implementation of AI went from concept to actually going live? Now, obviously, I understand in the EU you have the AI regulations and the frameworks that you work alongside. Can you just tell me what that process looked like for you at Erasmus Hospital, timelines, the departments and the people you had to involve?
Yeah, so it starts with getting an idea of the problem that you would like to solve, right?
Yes.
And then you look around, you go to conferences, you talk to people, you talk to vendors, and you get an idea, okay, this is going to be a solution that may work for me. Then we start with getting an idea of the performance of the AI algorithm. If that seems to be well based on publications, for example, we are aiming for an installation of the software, and then again we verify with our own data if the accuracy is going to be good enough, right? If the technical issues are going to be solved and so on and so forth. So if we will be able to use AI in the right way during our clinical workflow. And then of course we need to take into account that it needs to be a product that is CE certified. We need to involve the right people to be able to be allowed basically to use it in clinical practice. We have a certain approval process within our department. Of course, the IT people need to be on board, thinking about the architecture, about the installation of the software, doing the direct integration, using a platform, that kinds of questions need to be addressed during that phase. And also IT security, of course. IT security needs to approve the usage of the software. And also, if it's going to be cloud, or if it's going to be hybrid, or if it's going to be on-prem, all those kind of stuff are being discussed during that phase. And if this all those requirements or all those topics are being addressed adequately, we go live, and of course we then start educating, or we already started educating new people with the for AI, how to use AI, how to apply clinical practice, talking about false positives, false negatives, and so on and so forth. And then over time, of course, we keep track of the satisfaction of the radiologist, and we are currently working on also keeping track of the monitor of the performance of the software to make sure that it's that the accuracy is assured over time as well.
Mm. That's really great insight. And when you talk about sort of the accuracy and the feedback regarding the AI, how do you work with the company to ensure that this feedback is being fed back to them, and what are they doing about it?
So I think AI is still in its infancy. So we are really aiming for AI vendors trying to build a relationship with them and try to create mutual interest, right? So that they can deploy the product, we can give feedback, there can be improvements, and then meanwhile, of course, patients and radiologists will benefit from using that particular solution. So we are particularly interested in companies who are aiming for a collaborationship, sometimes in combination with research.
So relationship is obviously very important because you've got to work together to make sure that the intended use of AI is actually aligned with what you're trying to achieve. So that's wonderful to hear. So can you tell me a little bit more detail about the project? You're going to be using QXR, qTrack and the Cure widget.
Yeah, so the project is started in which all chest x-rays are being analyzed retrospectively by the algorithm. Then there is also an NLP algorithm looking at the radiology reports, and then there is that comparison. If there is any discrepancy, those cases will go to the chest radiologist for a second review, and then maybe there can be a change of the original report, and appropriate actions need to be taken. AI results will be available during the reporting for the radiologist. We will start to use the qTrack, and the qTrack that basically means that it's a software. Piece of software that can be used by the pulmonary physician, the pulmonary department, to keep track of those patients in which we found a pulmonary nodule, a lung nodule. So that's another thing that I would like to mention. It's not only about radiology. It's also about collaborating with the other departments, with referring physicians. I think it's very important to consider the fact that we have to look at the patient care pathway, right? And not only have a look from a radiologist perspective. So make the patient the central point and keep track of them, and also apply AI algorithms, along their care pathway in collaboration with the other departments.
Yeah, and I'm really pleased you mentioned that actually, because it's important to know that the patient has a journey through the hospital, and radiology is just one part of their wider journey, and having AI in sort of various departments helps sort of facilitate the accelerated pathway for them. So I'm really happy you mentioned that.
It's very important to that the radiologists know what actually is going to happen, right? So the thing is that they need to know the implications for their work. So they are very afraid of false positives. So that's the reason why we had a two-stage project. So we apply the AI, we share the results, so they get a feeling of how does it look like, what will be the implications for their daily workflow, and after there is being some trust, or enough trust, then we go to the next phase.
Yeah, and I think confidence and building trust amongst teams, colleagues is a big factor in AI adoption. You can share sort of the primary, secondary objectives and any sort of early insights that you can share with us.
So lung cancer is a horrible cancer. We need to fight it as much as possible. So fighting that means there will be several pathways. So one will be lung cancer screening. The other one will be incidental pulmonary nodule detection on CT, on chest X-ray. And then we also could think about, mining data to identify additional patients. But I think our current project with Cure, about the detection of incidental pulmonary nodules on chest X-ray, that's an important piece of the puzzle to get to an earlier diagnosis of lung cancer.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. So I want to go into sort of the clinical and the patient perspective here. So as a radiologist, implementing AI has probably changed the way you work and interpret, say, a chest X-ray. Can you share with us how that change has come and how you are perceiving it?
So I think one of the important applications of AI and X-rays would be to first sort out the normals, right? To get rid of the normals that we ideally they also be in pre-populated report that just need to be authorized by the radiologist. That's one thing. The other thing, of course, is that there will AI results available for the radiologist that can help and maybe speed up the interpretation of the chest X-ray. We are just about to start, so we need to evaluate this carefully, how it will affect the radiologist workflow in order to be able to get to that continuous improvement also of the product.
Mm-hmm. And do you see AI supporting early lung cancer diagnosis?
Yes, I think so. Because incidental pulmonary nodules, they may be missed on chest X-ray. As I mentioned earlier, there is an increasing workload. So we need to make sure that we are not going to miss any clinically relevant finding. AI is not going to be tired. AI is always the same. And we can use that to detect those pulmonary nodules that may be overlooked by the radiologist.
Yeah. And in your opinion, how do you envision the patient will benefit from an AI-adopted pathway?
So first of all, and also thinking about the software that's being offered now by Cure, the detection rate will improve. And also qTrack enables that the patient will get the follow-up that they need according to current guidelines. So there won't be any patient who will be lost to follow-up. And that's, the literature turns out that that's a lot of problem for especially incidental pulmonary nodules.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. So I have two sort of final questions for you. So how do you see the future of AI in the next 5 years in healthcare?
So I think in general, right? In healthcare. So it will grow gradually over time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there will be one disruptive moment. For example, what we have with the introduction of the iPhone, it will go gradually and increase over time. There will be an aging of the population, there will be a shortage of radiologists, so there will be an increasing need for using AI assistance during our clinical work. Of course, we need to make sure that we do that in the right way, so that we are not gonna use it anyway. We need to be confident that it's really adding value for the patients. So I think those are the main.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. And just finally, you have been instrumental as part of this project. You are the PI of the study. Can you share with sort of the audience any advice?
I think it's very important to have a kind of problem definition.
Yeah.
What problem would you like to solve? The second step, or at least the next step, would be to involve all relevant stakeholders.
Yes.
And then think about it as a care pathway project. At least we need to mention, of course, the radiologists, but also referring physicians, legal, IT. It's important to have those represented in the project team, and there needs to be a project manager, because we're always busy and we're doing a lot of stuff. But in order to keep the project going fast enough, there needs to be a project manager, as well as on the hospital side, as well as on the vendor side, so that you can team up and meet the right deadlines. And then, of course, it's always beneficial to get an idea of the implications and the the actual workflow. So do some retrospective study, get a feeling of the software. That's very important. Then of course you have the education of the people that are going to use the software, and then you do of course the keeping track of the software performance, of the engagement of the physicians. And those are really important issues to consider when starting with such a project.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think that's really insightful sort of information and shared learning. And I think one of the key points that you've mentioned is the stakeholder management is to involve various team members to onboard is what we're trying to do as part of this project. And a project manager is key to make sure that everything is on track and moving at the timelines we want it to. So thank you for sharing that.
My pleasure.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time and speaking with me today. And we look forward to sort of seeing some of these impacts on patients further down the line.
Sure, it was my pleasure and looking forward to our further collaboration.
Thank you.